As a personal injury attorney at Kaplan Law Group, the majority of the cases that we see in our office are motor vehicle accidents. However, we do get a lot of phone calls and have consultations with clients who are involved in a slip and fall type accident at a property. In this video, I'm going to go over how those cases differ from your regular run-of-the-mill negligence cases like a motor vehicle accident. So if we're talking about negligence in motor vehicle accidents, the duty and breach elements of a negligence claim are generally pretty straightforward. Of course, we all know that we all have a duty to drive reasonably safe on the road. We all know that there's laws surrounding what we can and can't do when we're driving our motor vehicle. And we know that there's times when accidents happen because, let's say, you're not paying attention or you're driving too fast. And so then you rear end someone or end up hitting someone at a traffic stoplight. So the duty and the breach there are pretty straightforward. You had a duty to follow the rules of the road. You didn't do that and you hit someone else's car. But in a premise liability case or a slip and fall type case, the duty and breach are a little bit different, and what you have to prove is different. For the duty aspect, generally, if you are supposed to be on someone else's property, the property owner has a duty to keep the premise in a reasonably safe condition and not allow dangerous conditions to exist on the property. However, if something happens, like a slip and fall, you also have to show that the property owner knew or should have known about the dangerous condition and failed to take action. So a lot of times these premise liability or slip and fall type cases are more difficult because the notice requirement can be harder to prove. A lot of times you show up on the property and let's say there is a dangerous or hazardous condition, for example, water on the floor, and you end up slipping and falling. Well, at that point in time, you likely don't know how long the spill had been there, whether someone was going to get something to clean it up, how that spill even got there in the first place. So there's lots of things that you don't know about what kind of notice the property owner had. And then generally, even if you do hire a personal injury attorney, a lot of that information is not going to be provided to you in what we call the claim stage or prior to any litigation. So most slip and fall cases we do have to litigate the case. And it's not until we get into the discovery phase of the case where we typically receive things like video footage from the incident, even the incident report, any witness statements of any employees or other people on the property. And so a lot of times it's a little bit difficult to know from the outset whether the property owner was on notice or should have been on notice, and if we're going to be able to prove your case in court. A few things you can do if you are involved in a slip and fall type accident that can help your case is one, obviously, if you're hurt, please seek treatment as soon as possible, even if that means having the property owner call an ambulance to the scene and taking you to the hospital. But please, if you are injured in any way, seek treatment as soon as you can. The next thing would be to make sure that some sort of incident report is filled out while you're there. So make sure that if you do fall, that you put someone else on notice there of what happened, ask them for an incident report, gather any information you can if you're okay to, or if someone's with you, have them gather information such as taking any photographs of the spill or photographs of the area you're in. If there's anyone else that comes to your aid, getting their contact information from them. Anything you can do to make sure that there's a clear record of what happened. And a lot of times, like I said, the property owner won't give you that information if you ask them for, a copy of the incident report, but maybe ask if you can take a picture, try to take a picture of the incident report if you can. And the last thing is to hire a personal injury attorney as quickly as possible. One of the things that we do at our firm right away is send what's called a preservation notice to the property owner. That's again putting them on notice that there was an incident or injury on their property and asking them to preserve any of the evidence that they have, including any video footage, any incident reports, or any photographs that they have. And this is important to do as quickly as possible because some property owners can claim that they weren't aware of the incident and maybe delete video footage or not preserve the footage in the correct way. So we want them to know as soon as possible that there's a potential for legal action here, that there was an incident, and to make sure that all that information is preserved for us if we do have to file a lawsuit in your case. If you have any other questions about being involved in a slip and fall accident, please call our office at 702-381-8888.